Denise and I'm 17 years old.
I'm Kun and I'm 18.
I'm Amanda and I'm 17.
I'm Emmy and I'm 18.
Have you ever had a friend that you felt like you could trust or talk about anything with? For me, that friend is the lovely Mrs. Arnold. Today, we are here to pay tribute to Mrs. Arnold because an amazing person like her deserves the highest tribute and praise. I've known Mrs. Arnold ever since I was a little girl. I even remember going to her wedding reception when I was 5 or 6 years old. Today, we will look at a brief overview of Mrs. Arnold's life, her greatest accomplishments in life, and how she has changed the world around her. First, we will take a look at her past. According to a personal interview I conducted with Mrs. Arnold on November 13, 2020, she was born on February 24th. She attended Cody Kilgore High School and graduated in 2002. Mrs. Arnold went on to become a fantastic music teacher and attended 3 different colleges to attain her master's in musical education. She attended Northwestern College in 2006, Chadron State College in 2008, and UNK University in 2015. Mrs. Arnold now teaches at Cody Kilgore High School, spreading her love, joy, and laughter with all of her students. During the 3 hours I spend with her in my afternoon classes, I'm astounded at how she handles naughty 8th graders. According to Josie Miller, a former student of Mrs. Arnold's, she said that, quote, Mrs. Arnold is very caring and has a motherly aura, unquote. This I can 100% agree with. Even though in my band and choir classes, I love playing and singing underneath her instruction. Even though I don't quite enjoy playing piccolo as much as I do singing, Mrs. Arnold still makes it a fun experience. Mrs. Arnold and I are also neighbors, so when we aren't singing in school, we have recently taken a crack to sing songs with church outside of school, and I love doing this with her. Now that we have taken a look at Mrs. Arnold's past, let's take a look at what she has accomplished in life. Mrs. Arnold has accomplished many things in her life. According to the personal interview I conducted with her, she was the first in her family to achieve a high level of education. That is, until her older brother John decided to show her up and get a doctorate in animal science. As I said before, Mrs. Arnold has also become an amazing music teacher. Making and hearing Mrs. Arnold laugh is one of the highlights of my day. Mrs. Arnold has also been through some hardships in life. The biggest obstacle she has faced, according to the personal interview I conducted, is infertility. According to her, though, she believes that, quote, being bold about our hardships and showing how God walks with us through those struggles, unquote, is sometimes the best way to get through these hardships in life. Now that we've talked about Mrs. Arnold's accomplishments and hardships in life, let's take a look about how she's changed the world around her. Mrs. Arnold, even though she hasn't been able to have children of her own, has blessed other children from around the world through hosting exchange students. Ever since I was a little girl, I always remember being excited to go to church and see the, quote, new weird people, unquote, in church. For years, Mrs. Arnold has hosted exchange students with her husband. According to Maddalena Coca, a former exchange student from Italy that stayed with the Arnolds, Mrs. Arnold is, quote, really positive, and whenever someone enters the room, you can feel her positive vibes. She cares a lot about the people around her, and she's the sweetest person ever, unquote. Throughout the years, some of the exchange students have not been the greatest. Even though they have dealt with hard exchange students, both of the Arnolds have done their best to be fair and stern while also being loving and caring with their students they've adopted for the year. According to the interview I did with Mrs. Arnold, she believes that she has changed the world through, quote, loving everyone God has placed in my life to the best of my ability, unquote. Mrs. Arnold, while she has her hardships, hasn't let anything stop her from showing the love of God in everything she does. Whenever I've had something to rant about or just wanted to talk, Mrs. Arnold has always been willing to listen. When needing help with something or just needing a friend to talk to, Mrs. Arnold has always been there for me. Through these last 4 years of high school, I've come to value Mrs. Arnold's advice and love my friendship with her. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Today we've talked about the life of Mrs. Arnold. First, we took a look at her past. Then we looked at her accomplishments in life. And finally, we took a look at how she changed the world around her. Throughout all the time I've known Mrs. Arnold in my life, she has always been loving and caring. And she's a woman that I've come to admire and love as a sister in Christ. As Oprah Winfrey once said, the more you praise and celebrate your life, there is more in life to celebrate. All in all, I couldn't think of a person more worthy of praise than the lovely Mrs. Arnold.
Said naughty foreign exchange students.